And that's going to, hi, I hope you're doing well. Today, I wanted to talk about the conjunction that Uranus and Jupiter are going to have on April 20th, 2024. A lot of people are talking about this because it's something that only happens every 13 and a half years or thereabouts, that Uranus and Jupiter will conjunct or connect. But the other perspective is it's not always going to happen in the same sign, and it's not always going to happen, obviously, in human design in the same gate. So I'm going to talk about Uranus and Jupiter connecting in the gate 23 line 4 from a personal perspective as well as sort of a global perspective. So I'll talk about the personal first. So if that's all you're interested in, you can just, watch that and then move on. And if you're interested in finding it, more information about some interesting correlations and connections that I found with this energy and past cycles of Uranus, then you can stick around for the global view. What I did find was I was kind of really struggling to find a theme or some kind of a thread to carry me through this energy to figure it out. The one thing about the gate 23 is that it is a very kind of in your head energy. So it's connected to the gate 43. So the full channel is called the 2343, or the channel of structuring. And basically it is all these types of things that we think about, and very innovative and sort of always ahead of their time. So in other words, you could tell people about some ideas that you have, and this is individual energy. You could tell people some ideas that you have, and people would think that that's completely absurd. But later, when the timing is right, within a year or 6 months or whatever, because I find that now the timeline is speeding up, and what comes from the 2343 comes into being a lot faster than it used to. I mean, that's just my opinion. But what it is saying is that when, the timing is right, suddenly these things, thoughts that were only one at one time kind of musings, or I guess a far out idea, suddenly become something that people really want to support. And all individual energy, especially any energy that's considered above the throat. Now, this is a channel that connects the ajna to the throat center. So this has no motor. So in other words, there is a lot of need to have people support your ideas. So if we hone in on the gate 23 line 4, or we hone in on, even on the gate 23 to begin with, this is coming from the gate 43. And the gate 43 is like this big innovative idea. But what happens is it's so huge, it's difficult sometimes to articulate it. The gate 23 is the articulation for the idea. And so we have Uranus moving through this energy, and it's been moving through this energy for some time, since last year in 2023. And it will go back into the gate 23 after it moves into the gate 8. But for now, it is in the gate 23. And this becomes all about several different themes, and a few of them, and that's the truth with every gate of human design, is that some gates are well, most gates have a lot of different ideas of how they can express. One thing for the gate 23 is like a handmade life, you could say, where you're using your hands, or you're using simple techniques to get what you need to make or to create. Again, using your hands to create things that can be very beneficial to people who have the gate 23 defined. The other perspective is it is innovative energy that is going to be translated. And I call this kind of like a decoder, because it's decoding the information from the gate 43 and making it into something that is transmissible, or there's this level of what they call assimilation. So it can be assimilated into the collective. And how you do that is through your voice and your words. And so we have Jupiter and we have Uranus conjuncting or connecting in the gate 23 line 4. And if I look at the perspective of being in a personal chart, I would look at, is it giving you some a definition? As in, is it activating a channel? Is Uranus activating a channel now? Is it activating a center? Now, if that's the case, it could be more impactful in your life. And if you have an astrology chart, have a look at where it is in your astrology chart. What house is it in? What house is it activating? That it might be becoming so innovative, or so revolutionary, and truly revolutionary, because this is the beginning. This is not something that tomorrow you have the results of. There's something that a seed is growing, is being planted in your life or your process, that is going to grow into something way more expansive in the future. And it may be very unusual. It may be a very unusual seed that you're planting that it's almost like you have super fertilizer that's going with this seed with the energy of Jupiter. And I would say whatever seed that's going to be planted is really something that is not going to be, intentionally, you're not intentionally doing it. It is something that the universe is going to give you and kind of direct you in that way. And everybody is going to be different on how it will affect, you going forward. Some people may be very impacted by this transit in that their life is shifting in a very innovative, different way. And suddenly there's a new path where you're going somewhere where you never expected. But again, this is far-reaching, innovative energy that nobody's seen before. And so it takes time to get the support for whatever you're trying to push forward into the world. Now, this is going to take you down a little bit of a rabbit hole because suddenly a lot of things were given to me, you could say metaphorically, in that this happens often where things will start to be come into my trajectory, and it kind of makes a thread come together. Now, the thread that came together really connected back to Oppenheimer and the time of Oppenheimer and also even Einstein. So if we're looking at the last time this energy was in play, it was between probably about 1939 to 1940. This energy was in play where we had Uranus going through the gate 23. So, back then, the new and innovative project became later on the Manhattan Project, we could say, because that seems to be the line. The thing about Uranus in human design is that it is called the sidetrack, or where we take off, we go somewhere else and we find something and then we bring it back into, the main trajectory. The other perspective is that it is a representation of the stages of life when you go around the mandala. If we look at the nine-centered being, and that's what we're supposed to be, we have evolved from a seven-centered being to a nine-centered being based on human design. The nine-centered being has moved away from a Saturnian life into a Uranian life. And so now our lifespan it should be at least based on the Uranian life cycle, about 84 years. And so 84 years ago, this was happening we had Uranus going through this energy. The other thing about Uranus is that because it is so connected to the life cycle of a human, every gate that Uranus is going through it's a one and a done. It is a once in a lifetime gate you will have. Now, we can't really do the same for Neptune or Pluto because we know we will never see Neptune or Pluto transit through all the gates in any one lifetime because it's too long. Their orbits are too long. But we can see, if we have the 84-year life at least, we can see the whole cycle complete. And so each part, every gate that Uranus is transiting through, it is accentuating what needs to be in the collective. And so in the gate 23, it is translating this idea of assimilation, or this idea of brand new and innovative ideas that bring us into something brand new. First of all, I want to say that I'm not saying that this is a time where we're going to have nuclear, types of things happening, or that type of thing. That is not what I'm trying to say. I am trying to connect the cycles in that you have the progression of how the energy played out to become eventually the Manhattan Project, and all the repercussions that came with that energy. Now, I'm not saying there are going to be repercussions. What I am saying is that this is a very pivotal time on planet Earth. And even if you look at Pluto and also Neptune and their big transits, I mean, that all plays into it. But if we're going to focus just on Uranus today, in the gate 23 line 4 is called fragmentation. The one thing that I thought was stunning is that Oppenheimer had the gate 23 line 4 activated in his body graph by Mercury. So that in itself is very interesting. We also have Einstein, who on August 2nd, 1939, sent a letter to Roosevelt to tell him that, they should start to construct the nuclear bomb. What's interesting is it was dated on that day. And what was happening was that Uranus was actually transiting through the gate 23 line 3, and it moved into the gate 23 line 4 on August 3rd, 1939. So these were all events that eventually led to something. So if you look at Oppenheimer's chart, you see this perspective of he was under the influence of Uranus quite a bit during the Manhattan Project. So it went from Uranus went, as it's going to in the next couple of years, Uranus moved from the gate 23, the gate 8, and into the gate 20. So through transit, Oppenheimer had the full 1020 channel, or also called the channel of awakening, activated. And that would have been off and on through Uranus's transit. And so this is sort of where it is bringing attention to the world, or bringing attention to people, or waking people up, you could say. And so it did in what he was doing. The 1020 channel can also be called the channel of the Buddha. And that's because it's energy to wake people up, or to help them to become conscious of something beyond the material plane. So it is waking things up. It is waking people up, or waking something up that is asleep, you could say. Especially when you have Uranus that is activating the energy. Not only that, it was activating his personality, Uranus. So you had the two very unusual energies for technology, for innovation, for very different things coming together. And then, we had the Manhattan Project. Now, what's happening in 2024 is we have this big conjunction in the gate 23 line 4. I think there's a lot of ways that I could bring the connections together, but this is talking about fragmentation. This is talking about pushing something to humanity that may not be necessarily to our advantage. It's about glossing over the details so that it can get pushed through. Now, reality is this. This is the time that Uranus is going to do this. This is the time when this is going to be born. So from this moment on in, April 20th, 2024, whether you see something happen on that particular day, or you see something happen in the years to come, we could say that this is that moment when things change. Now, I'm going to bring in another chart from 2024, somebody who is playing a big part in AI and AI technology, and the founding of ChatGPT, and that's Sam Altman. Now, if you look at his chart, what is very uncanny is that he and Oppenheimer both shared the sun in the gate 41 line 3, the design, and also the earth in the gate 31 line 3 in the design as well. Not only that, he will also, beginning in 2025, have the same activation that Oppenheimer had when he was doing his biggest, you could say, work, and he will have the 1020 activated as well. Now with Sam Altman, the 10 is activated by his Neptune. So it brings this kind of murkiness, and we don't really know what's happening with it, but it is 100% activating the channel of awakening as well. So this is waking us up to something. While there's similarities in the charts, of course, there are differences as well. And so, you can't base everything on just a few items. But what I am saying is that this is really seeming to give us an indication that what we are looking at moving forward into is some form of AI that is going to shift humanity. And I think that, there is that level of creating something that maybe you don't know how it's going to play out. I mean, for instance, if you look at drones, the way drones are used now and where they were, originally, I remember my kids had drones and they would just fly them around, and they were like little toys. And now they can do a lot more. Unfortunately, they're even being used in war. So, that is not what I'm saying. I'm not saying there's anything negative about it, but what I am saying is that Jupiter comes in, and it is going to expand this energy to push this through, whatever this is. And is it going to be an expansion of energy for rules and regulations related to AI and those types of things? Potentially, that could be the case as well. But ultimately, this is like a turning point for humanity, in that things are going to change a lot. It seems as though this is sort of the beginning of something. It's a seed that we see that's being planted on April 20th, 2024, which will grow something in the future. How that plays out, I couldn't say. Could be connected to something else. I could be completely off base, but my feeling is it is connected to AI because of the Uranus connection, because of the connection to how Uranus is playing out. And although Sam Altman doesn't have the gate 23 activated in his body graph, he does have the transit activated on a defined throat center. So in other words, he is still connecting with the energy of the gate 23 evolution. And it really is the gate of amorality, where we push through with what needs to change with evolution. There is no oh, is this going to hurt? Who's going to lose their job if this happens? And this is something that we see with AI. A lot of people are kind of trying to push back on it because it is taking over. There is a fear that it will take over jobs of people in the future. So that is my long-winded conversation about what I think that Uranus and Jupiter are sort of talking about. I hope that lots of good things and good seeds are being planted in your life and in the future. And with that said, take care and bye for now.